thinking, oh shit.
What's going on, world? What's going on, world? It's your boy at Big Game James _36, and this is at Big Games BS, brought to you by Big Media Group. Inside of the world famous Goodfellas Cigar Lounge, but more importantly, brought to you by thehumidor.com. Thehumidor.com is the go-to place for all your cigar and tobacco needs, boxes, cutters, torches, humidors, humidor packs, blah, 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 whatever the hell that you need. We got it there. We're going to give it to you at a better price. And because we really love the people, we're going to tell you how to save some more money. Type in sports at checkout, you get 20% off. If you spend over $150, you get free shipping. So how that works is basically we're giving you the tax plus a little bit extra to be able to go off for you. So much stuff has happened over the past couple of days, and I thought that I wasn't going to have the opportunity to make this relevant, but then more BS happened. So big games, bullshit, big games, big show, however you want to call it BS, more happened. I follow recruiting through the adults and things of that nature. I have relationships with guys. I give game. I talk to them about how to navigate the process. Especially members of lightness. But I've got friends who are a little bit more in depth with it, do a better job of keeping up to date with some of the people. And to be honest with you, to use their nickname, kind of sometimes has the pulse of what Florida sports is. I have to give credit where credit is due. I've never been a hater. That's never been in my nature. But you got to give credit where credit's due, and this guy played it at a high level at an HBCU, Bethune Cookman, but that's not his fault. He was raised that way, so we're not going to hold that against him. But he's from Tallahassee. Tallahassee produces some of the best, the brightest in all things. And let's get you back over there. I'm just going to bring on my good friend CJ Wilson of Roll Up Network. Actually, you know what? You go and tell the people, plug whatever you need to plug, bro.
Yeah, CJ Wilson 850 on Twitter. You can catch me on the Roll Up Network, the FSU portion of the podcast, bringing you recruiting news or just FSU news in general, whether it's within the team, the recruiting trail, whatever it may be. And real good friends with James, man. That's my guy right there, man. And I guess what it's talking about FAMU and VCU and stuff like that, man. We won't get into that, but
you talk to more of my old teammates lately than I have.
Yeah, bro, trying to take it off, man, and build the brand. And shout out to you because I feel like with the connecting with you and connecting with others and whatnot, it's made it easier. And even just talking to you about the former players and getting some insight as far as good questions to ask and topics to bring up, man. Got nothing to credit but the relationship I'm building with you guys, man. So I credit the beginning of that with you, man, to be honest.
Right. So make sure you go check them out. Good interview with Buster Davis. And did y'all drop the one with AD?
Yeah, so AD just dropped today, real good gems. And I want to touch on that for a second. I know a lot of the FSU fans don't know how to let go or kind of grow up with a situation when a player messes up or a situation happens within, the team where the player is dismissed. For some reason with fans, like it's no forgiveness, but it's forgiveness within, their regular walks of life with their regular mistakes. When you have a kid that's 18, 19 years old making a mistake and then 20 years later realize that mistake, hey, I've grown for that and I'm a better person for that. I mean, give it up to that guy for realizing the mistakes and taking the proper steps to grow and also going through that adversity and bouncing back and landed on 2 feet. So I wanted to just just give that shout out real quick, man. A lot of fans don't know how to separate that type of stuff, real life from the fandom of the football team. And that's one of the main issues that we have within these fan bases. And when players mess up or get in trouble, it's no redemption for them, man. It's a black eye for the rest of their lives, so to speak, through those fans.
Which is funny because I tell fans I can't forgive them, and not in a bad way, but like I refuse to be bashed for holding a standard when I played for what people say is the
You
Los
play it
Angeles.
for it. Like, I mean, how can the fan bash you for trying for wanting the standard to be upheld when you was a part of that brand, when you're a part of building it, you bled, sweating, and you fought with those brothers and you was in the trenches, so to speak. So that's crazy for a fan to talk crazy to a person that who should be, well, not should be, who is more passionate about the university than any fan can be, due to the fact that you actually laid on the line for that university.
If anybody could be mad at AD, it's me. Robbed me of 2 national championships. I'm telling you, 03, we winning it all. We're not losing to Clemson or Miami for that matter. And 04, we're not losing to Miami or Maryland. And we going back to back. And I like our chances against USC.
So it's crazy. And speaking, I brought this up after the fact, but just having a regular conversation with AD, he even said it, man, I told you this, if I don't get dismissed from FSU, I feel like we win the national championship. And it just blew me because, the day before, you told me the exact same thing. Like, we win 2 with AD. So it's crazy that, the feeling amongst you guys was that, hey, if he would have stayed the course, that, FSU would have had more national championships. And that's kind of the story of FSU. When you look at a lot of those end of the Bowden years, those, hey, what if Snoop did this? What if Chris was held? That type of deal. So we have a lot of what if stories when it comes to FSU and multiple national championships.
Well, that's not why I brought you on. So, hold on. I think he okay, my bad. You messed me up, Miles. You messed me up, Miles. That's not why I brought you on. That's good stuff. Check out the Roll Up Network from what they got. But why I brought you on originally was we had a very interesting situation happen in recruiting. Mm-hmm. And then we were still going to talk about it because there's a lot of layers to it. But then what happened yesterday, if you pay attention, it was bound to happen eventually, but it still stings in comparison to when you see your rivals seem to be doing pretty good in recruiting. And right now, you're regressing or seemingly regressing, but it doesn't even seem like you're trying as hard as they are. And so what I'm talking about is Desmond Ricks. I said his name right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very highly talented DB in next year's class, 24, who was trending to Florida State.
Right.
Says that he hasn't even heard from them in like over a month. And that's why he's not in this top 10.
Correct.
And we can get into the semantics of it, but a little bit of a jab by the water faucet guy, whatever the fuck his name is, with On 3. And I noticed On 3 people have been following me now, so that shit don't matter to me. I don't work for nobody but myself, so you can't intimidate me. And then we also had a decommitment from the quarterback that's been committed for almost a year in Chris Parsons. Kind of go into these situations and what are your initial thoughts? Okay.
Oh, 1 second.
My bad. Well, while he's doing that, go ahead, do your thing. But he's got to handle something else real quick. But just with the Rick situation, it's really interesting. I'll mute that real quick. Okay. It's really interesting because this is what happens. You had a kid that was about to commit in April that had Florida State as his number 1 school. Then he steps back and he says they're not even in the top 10 a few months later. And they're not even communicating. Let me tell you a little bit what happens across the board.
Mm-hmm.
You have a board. There are guys that you're recruiting. There are guys you think you have a better chance at. And then there are guys that you're just keeping them on the flame. It's like barbecuing. Like you just got them on the top rack and you just needed to have some heat.
Keeping it warm.
Keeping the meat warm. So Ricks, when he didn't commit, they had to keep the meat warm a little bit. But there's some cats that will commit that you got to grill though. And it happens across the board. I just know, and this isn't a defense of anybody. I tell y'all all the time, MFTK, it started because of recruiting. I don't give a fuck where these kids go. If they come to Florida State, that's when I'll judge them. And if they don't, I want them to flourish. As long as they don't go up against Florida State, then I'm going to be against them. But after that, God bless. But kind of tell us a little bit about the Rick situation from how you see it.
All right, so with Rick's, like you were saying, going back to April, everything was trending perfectly for Florida State, right? Kids said this is his dream school, yada, yada, yada. Had a couple visits. It was supposed to pop. It was word that he was supposed to pop around the spring game. So that's when you have the crystal balls coming in, things like that. So from the kids' camp perspective, say, let's hold off a little bit. Let's see what's out there. You're 2 years away, right? 2 years away. So let's just hold off and see what's out there and go through the recruiting process some more and just, go to these other schools, get recruited by them and see where things still stand. So with that, he started taking other visits, Miami, Florida, Alabama, Ohio State, things like that. Just seeing the market, which you should at that age, especially when you're a whole year out. So from FSU's point of view, from the word I've been hearing, is say, okay, we felt like he was kind of trending away from us in regards to the recruitment and trending towards other schools, I guess the schools that he was visiting at the time. So FSU kind of backed off of that due to the fact that they felt like they didn't really have a puncher's chance. Now, the communication was, I don't want to say the communication was cut off completely. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't to what it was prior to April. So we get to that point and he drops the top 10. Now, my issue with that is when you have these type of kids and these type of battles, like you said, 36, some kids are ready to commit right away. But when you have a top 5 player, regardless of position within the class, you got to play your guns. You have to do your job in regards to staying consistent with the guy, keep sending your message, preaching, and fight with the heavyweights. Simple as that. That's what you simply got to do, man. You got to fight with the heavyweights. If you want to win these battles, you got to fight and claw with the heavyweights. And this is baffling because you look at the Azare Thomas recruitment, it's like the complete opposite. Hell, if you look at Azare Thomas a year ago from today, it was FSU was not in the picture. It was trending towards Florida and things like that. The staff stayed consistent with it, and lo and behold, when it comes to November, December, Florida fires a head coach, new head coach comes in. Billy Napier has a weird way within the 2022 recruiting class in regards to one of those guys to send film, send in person, that type of deal. So he backs off of Florida, and then FSU's in the picture because they've been really consistent with it. So why, if you do it the previous year, I'm not understanding what's the difference between now and Ricks. And Ricks isn't the only one. We have going back to 2022 last year, 5-star cornerback Tony Mitchell and 5-star safety AJ Harris, they were trending towards FSU. Pretty much the same story. They're trending towards FSU. A lot of crystal balls came in that they was about to commit, and then communication out of nowhere kind of tailed off. And for me, if you're at Florida State, first of all, you're a big dog yourself. Let's get that out of the way and don't confuse now. You just because we've been losing the last couple of years, you're still in the same rights of the Alabamas, the LSUs, the Georgias when it comes to recruiting those type of players, because you have the same thing to sell as far as the recruiting pitch. Now the wins haven't been there, but if you recruit those guys and bring them in like you do at FSU, the wins can come, right? So that's my whole issue with that is you got to stay consistent with recruiting. Recruiting is always fluid, always fluid. We're trending in April for the kid, and now we're currently not trending due to whatever reasons, but say 2 to 3 months down the line, you have the season, wins, losses playing a factor. You can be right there with that kid. So recruiting is always fluid, it's always changing. So for FSU to tail off communication with Ricks, and then in Ricks, AJ Harris, and Tony Mitchell, it's a trend within the defensive back room. And we also had I'll put out a tweet when the situation first happened, and Diamond, who's Diamond, who's local within Tallahassee, 36. You know her also.
Yeah.
She has a son who went to Florida High, and he committed to Auburn. Man, just drew a dang blank.
As you said, that messed me up too. I should know his name.
Yeah, just drew. You a Florida High guy, right? Just drew a dang blank, just like that. But he ended up transferring to Georgia Tech. But FSU was recruiting him also. We were in the battle with him. It was at one point in time FSU seemed to be the favorite, and then recruitment kind of tailed off. So Diamond pretty much gave her side of the story as being the mother of that recruitment, saying that communication kind of gets foggy once they think that the kid may be trending at another direction, or if it's a little bit more competition for the kid.
Amari
Harvey. Amari Harvey. Yeah, a 4-star defensive back out of Florida High that committed to Auburn. Florida State was in it with the recruitment. I think it was Florida State, Tennessee, Auburn, a couple schools down the stretch. So when you have those recruiting battles, you gotta recruit. This is what you're hired for. And then when you have a defensive back coach who's known for recruiting, technically, it's just even more baffling that you're not putting your big boy pants and ready to bang for these battles.
It's also one of those things where it's just not good for optics. To see the jokes that come out, you can't lose the number one cornerback in the nation, the JSU, if you don't recruit him. So just the optics look bad. I had probably one of my most successful IG posts by posting this and just saying it looks bad. It's a bad look. And to quote one of our mutual friends, the reality of the situation, lie or not, you can't argue with the kid.
Correct.
Now, the only way to argue with the kid is to post like a call out.
Right, exactly.
And if you do that, we don't want to get into those.
That's even worse of a look, right? So it's a lose-lose for the staff.
Right. So I mean, it's a thing where like you said, you got to punch with the big boys. I don't subscribe to this loser logic that some in the media have and some fans have that say you can't recruit big time players with the record that you have. Because look at Miami. They've been bad since I was a junior in high school. Excuse me, let me rephrase it. They haven't won a natty since my senior year in high school. So, but they're punching above their weight class. Right now, they're doing it really good. Florida hasn't won anything significant in a while. Texas, same. Texas A&M, like, to put it in perspective, Jimbo's there and he recruits. But they haven't won a national championship since before the Second Great War. For those who don't know, World War II. There was this new technology out. It's called Technicolor. They just started showing things outside of black and white. That's how long ago it was. But they're recruited. So you got to go out here and you got to go out there and push. You're DBU for a reason. But to hear, and this kind of, we'll get to the other breaking news, but to hear Diamond talk about her son with Amari Harvey in another post that I've made, because you're from Tallahassee, the Big Bend area. You're younger than me, but I can still say y'all had British footman, right? When he he
was my class.
So I would say 2000 to about 2006 was a real huge renaissance in athletic talent. And I could go up a couple more years, like 98, when I think about Mike Gaines, who was the number one tight end in the nation when he came out, and Antonio Carter, who went to Alabama. Both of them went to Alabama.
AC.
But I don't, and I know, I think Lincoln had a crazy offensive line that year and some cats. But I know in my class, and heck, they just posted there's like the top 25 players in the state of Florida. And like a lot of them were from Tallahassee or went to Florida State. But yeah, Gavin Dickey, Pat Watkins. Like the funny thing about that Lincoln team, I was supposed to be on that team.
You
So
want to be
just
great.
think about who didn't go to Lincoln and them going D1 and how many guys off of that team went D1 and how many guys from Tallahassee went to Florida State or from the Big Bend area. Like, I'll say the last 3 years and projecting 3 to 4 more years should be similar in terms of talent. You got
Correct.
great quarterbacks coming out. The little kid that goes to Gabi, I think, is a
Mm-hmm.
freshman. Is going to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
Florida High has some good talent. Lincoln's looking like they got good talent.
Yeah, even
What
Rutgers
is
are
it
putting guys
about?
out.
Like, what is it about? Like, we talk about, there's articles about how hard it is to get to Tallahassee. Well, damn it, college is having an easy time to get here and pull talent at. So why is it we don't have a fence around the Big Bend?
Yeah, and that's another thing, and I agree 100%. And another one of our friends, a quote that he uses all the time, in Jasper Grimes, 250 miles. You go 250 miles north, east, and west of Tallahassee, you pretty much get everything you want, right? So, to break it down even further, hill the 30-mile radius, you're very good. So that's another baffling thing. You got Makari Vickers, who dropped the top 3. FSU wasn't included. Raylan Wilson, a position of need, right? Linebacker, right in your backyard, one of the best in the country, ends up going to Georgia after committing to Michigan first off. So FSU wasn't in the picture for both of those situations. So it's very baffling, especially when you have the talent, because like you said, last maybe prior to doing Jimbo and a little bit of the tag years, it wasn't there, right? As far as the talent within the city. Now we have that talent. Now we got to get back and start busting those relationships down and getting into those doors and getting into those doors early. The first stop, regardless of whenever you hear on the recruiting trail, the first stop should always be your local schools, right? The first stop should always be your local schools. If we get back to that, putting local first, the Big Bend area, I think we could be okay, man. We could be okay, but you got to get in and build those relationships early. Build those relationships early with the staff, the community, and everyone involved, because we know how Tallahassee is, right? It's a close-knit community when it comes to their players, and it's a relationship based place, right? So if you get in and build those relationships and make those coaches feel comfortable, make those coaches feel wanted, then they want to give you something back in return, man. So I really think that's the main focus that the staff needs to have, is build those relationships with the people around the players, of course, the coaches, everyone involved, and then we could go from there in regards to cultivating those relationships for future classes.
Yeah, nothing like being on that jumbotron and being from Tallahassee.
Man,
I
listen,
can speak
that
from
was my
example.
dream growing up. I know you experienced it, but that was my dream. I mean, I would have dropped any scholarship, any offer, no matter how many cornerbacks FSU was taking. It wouldn't have mattered. If they would have offered me, that's what I was signing right then and there. And that's a pride thing. And I'm speaking for myself, and even with kids who were around me during that time, they wanted that FSU offer. That's the school they wanted to go to. That's the offer that meant the most. Yeah, I got Louisville. Yeah, I got Auburn, et cetera, Georgia. But that FSU offer, that holds dear to Tallahassee kids' heart. So I agree with you 100%.
Right. I will say this though, it's tough if you ain't no good. They're gonna let you know.
Oh
You
yeah,
gotta go
gonna
home.
let you know
My
about it for
mama
sure.
tells me, because I talk a lot of trash, especially during some of those later years. She was just like, "Son, you remember, you from Tallahassee. You got to come back home. So it's hard when you ain't no good. It ain't nowhere for you to go. So, but again, to hear that guy say, and from Tallahassee, Florida, and then everybody, even if you ain't no good, everybody cheers for you. So it's kind of dope. So now getting into the nitty gritty, you have some unique perspectives when it comes to this last decommit. Chris Parsons, decommitted, former 4-star, current 3-star quarterback, did well at Elite 11. I think the kid has some talent.
I agree.
I want the kid in the class. I want
agree.
multiple quarterbacks in the class, though. So what are your thoughts on this in the strategy that the coaching staff is taking?
As far as the strategy, I like the strategy with the coaching staff. I kind of wish they would have held to the strategy a lot earlier, because if you remember, we were entertaining Dante Moore. I know Kenny Dillingham played a big part in that relationship, but we were entertaining Dante Moore, right? So it was smoke about Dante Moore taking another visit to FSU this spring. And that's when we started hearing all about the rumors about Chris Parson, taking visits elsewhere, looking elsewhere. Once Dante Moore smoke kind of came up. Okay, so the staff kind of dispelled those Dante Moore rumors, and even Dante Moore said it himself. FSU, they're talking to me, but they're not talking to me to the point in which they used to be. They currently have a guy coming in, Chris Parson, and I respect that. So you kind of read the writing on the wall with that one. So things were good for a couple months. Then I guess FSU said enough is enough. We got to hold true to our guns and do what's best for the program itself. And not really be held tight on individual players, and said, okay, let's bring in multiple quarterbacks due to the fact that you got to understand the landscape, right? So it's not like how it was back in the 90s where you're having a guy like Danny Cannell, a junior coming in and playing and is taking off right then and there. If kids aren't playing quarterbacks, that is, if they're not playing within year 2 to 3, they're out of there within the transfer portal, right? Which I can't blame them. I understand 100. I understand 100%. So you have that factor, and then you say, for instance, Tate Rodemaker, for example. If Tate comes into FSU, he's a career backup. Let's call it what it is, right? Mm-hmm. If he says he wants to, I want to test the market, look on the transfer, go to a lower level, and have an opportunity to start, then you're down to 2 scholarship quarterbacks, and you're up shit's creek, right? So I definitely understand the staff's angle for wanting to take multiple quarterbacks due to the uncertainty of not being left out to dry. I also understand Parsons camp in regards to we want to protect ourselves. We want to go to a situation where we're probably not by bringing in multiple quarterbacks. So that's where we're at with that. And then once we had the smoke about Brock Glenn coming within the recruiting class, well, not recruiting class, with this the fact that we're recruiting Brock Glenn, that is, excuse me. And also you have another quarterback they are pursuing, current Purdue quarterback within the 2023 class out of Louisiana, and that is, got his name right here, Richie Collins, excuse me. So Richie Collins and Brock Glenn were the 2 other quarterbacks that FSU offered this summer that they were pursuing. Both official visited to FSU, and then here again, that's when Chris Parson took the official visit to SMU, took an unofficial visit to Mississippi State, started talking about offers. Virginia Tech recently offered, things like that. So you kind of see the writing on the wall. And I want to say the decommitment happened on yesterday, which was 7/12. But the day before that, that's when we started getting all the predictions and smoke about Brock Glenn coming to the class, right? So you can see the writing on the wall. And also I hosted, me and TJ Pittenger, we hosted the FSU Space. I forget what the topic was about. I think just a regular FSU Space. And then we started talking about the Elite 11. And that's when Chris Parsons' dad came into the space and started, talking about foreshadowing, so to speak, what's going to happen. He brought up a reference about going into a bar, and then you're at a bar and you see one girl that really likes you, that girl wants you, but you're entertaining 2 other girls, things like that. You risk the chance of losing to that one girl. That's a sure thing. So the writing was kind of on the wall with this decommitment, and I understand it from both sides, because as a program, man, you got to protect yourself. You can't just be tied to one player, right? Due to the situation of due to the nature of the situation with the current landscape of college football. And I do understand Parson in regards to, hey, really don't want to go in a situation where it's multiple quarterbacks, want to be the guy in the class. But you got to look at the flip end of this. And Brock Glenn, I forget who posted it, but he made a pretty good quote about competition, right? Even if they don't recruit a quarterback in my class, I'm still competing with the quarterback ahead of me that they recruited. I'm going to be competing with the quarterbacks behind me that they're going to be recruiting coming in. So it's a never-ending competition, so to speak. In 36, you can speak to this. You played at Florida State. Hell, Florida State recruits at a high level. You got guys in front of you that's good, and you got guys that's behind you that's coming to take your spot too, right? So it's a never-ending competition thing. So I understand. I like that quote, and it was a good quote. Just perspective, like, whether you're taking 2 quarterbacks, 1 quarterback, there's always going to be competition, whether it's before you or after you.
Yeah, I think he's a good kid. And I think the dad is doing what he feels is best for his son. But like you just said, when I came to Florida State, they recruited I had to beat out redshirt freshmen. I came in, it was 2 fullbacks, me and Torrance Washington. They brought in a guy after me, and they brought in another guy. My senior year, they were rumored. It's always competition. That's why you go to the schools. Somebody added me in Andre Ivins, I think, or so Andrew, whatever the hell his name is. But
Andrew Ivins,
they talked about Brandon Ennis. They just put the kid's IG on there. I'm like, I don't know who the hell this is. And then they told me, I'm like, okay, I recognize that name. But then he's going to Ohio State. It's like, my son was a 5-star receiver. Probably sent him to Ohio State too. Hardly balling right now. Like, I want to go to the league. But if the goal is to go to the league, iron sharpens iron. So you got to go to a situation where you really got to go out there and you got to push it. But I'm going to kind of go against the narrative that the young man is afraid to compete.
No, I don't think so, because you look at
position.
Yeah, because you look at Elite 11. He go to the Elite 11. He looked Glenn right in his eyes and competed. He showed that, made throws and was a top 11 of the Elite 11. Now, granted, I'm not trying to put too much stock into the Elite 11 because, it's shirts and t-shirt and shorts as a campus, a lot more that goes to playing the quarterback. But he showed that he has that competitive edge at that camp. So that was baffling to me, man. But go ahead, bro.
But that's basically it. Like, so you can't say these kids are battling for NIL money. You can't say that they're prima donnas or divas and then say that they don't want to compete. Because that in of its nature is competing. And that's why I try to tell you, the only way you'll be successful at this level is to constantly put yourself in situations where you have to compete. Now, the difference between Parsons and even a Brandon Ennis, there's 3 to 4 wide receivers on the field at any given time. There's only one quarterback. And I get it, but at the same time, it's business. So Florida State, if we look at really the last 5 years, we've only brought in 3 high school quarterbacks. You had, that's going back to Slim Reaper. What was his name? The boy who was at Arkansas State, James Blackman, and then some kid who didn't pan out, who transferred it 3 times. Tag doesn't bring in anybody. Then Tag has Jeff Sims. Jeff decommits. You bring in 2. One is a great person, probably going to be an amazing coach one day. I would love him to work in boosters, but Tay Rodemaker, I just don't want him on my football field. There's nothing wrong with that. That's my opinion. I don't want him throwing an American football. Chubba Purdy is the 3rd string quarterback at Nebraska now. We missed on Luke Altmaier, who was committed, and you only had him the entire time. And then he decommits when everything is rough. You get Duffy, you try to bring in 2 in that class, but the other kid who committed first, who I think is a damn good football player, is at West Virginia now. And then you bring in Duffy, and I think Duffy's going to be okay. But I'll say this. And this is where quarterbacks and their parents, not just quarterbacks, let me back. Any position player that is trying to be that guy, then you best be damn sure that you feel you can come in day one and start. Because if you don't, you're not going to be that guy if that coach is any good. Because next year, he's going to recruit that guy. And then the year after that, he's going to recruit that guy. Or that coach won't be that guy. And that's where these guys got to make sure that they're doing well. But I will say this, fan base, relax, man. Don't let your day be ruined by 16 to 17-year-old boys. It's kind of weird.
Very weird. And last point before we get out of the Parson take. These kids, like, what? How can I put this? You have a get out of jail free card now, right? That's something that you haven't had. Say, for instance, your playing days. If you transfer, you have to sit 1 year. You transfer in conference, you have to sit 2 years, et cetera, et cetera. So you have a get out of jail free now with the portal and in that free transfer and not you losing any eligibility, correct? So why not go to the school you want to go to, that dream school, whatever, compete, do things out. And if stuff don't work in your favor and you get up out of there, use that get out of jail free card, you still have that in your back pocket to go to whatever school you have available at that time and make the best business decision for you as far as getting on the field. So with that get out of jail free card, if it's a situation where it's a bunch of competition and I like myself, I'm going to go to that school, test the water, see how things work out. And if it does work out in my favor, then cool. I am what I say I am. If it doesn't, I still have an opportunity to make do with my situation.
Definitely. My guy Denny talked about it like this. He preps his quarterbacks to try to go ahead and dual enroll, get some college credits, because the goal is to get your degree in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that was before the get out of jail free card with the transfer.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go 2 years, enjoy the situation, and if it doesn't work for you, go somewhere else. Not a problem with that, especially if you do it the right way.
Correct.
And with the name, image, and likeness, and the way things are going, and how I preach with Mika Nopi, AC51, let your 4 years get you to the next 40. I kind of joked about him on a space the other day, but I respect the hustle. Look at Mackenzie Milton. Mackenzie Milton, Florida State fans love him. Didn't make a play of significance at Florida State, but is the face of an NIL company, hosting spaces, getting paid. At the same time, doing stuff for UCF, his first school. And that's because he did things the right way. So, man, I won't take too much more of your time. I appreciate you coming on. I just figured it'd be a great way. You have more expertise on that, and just let you talk about it. But give us one more time how to get a hold of you and how to share and support your stuff.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter, CJ Wilson 850, and also tune in to the Roll Up Network podcast. We drop Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Usually have player interviews. Well, have some former players interviews within all three schools. Give all perspective from all three schools as far as recruiting, current news, coaching, current roster, whatever it may be. So you can check us out on the Roll Up Network, man. Appreciate you. 36 is always good chopping up with you.
All right, man. No problem, man. No problem. That's my guy, CJ Wilson, right there. Roll Up Network podcast. Good guy. One of the richest people on Twitter. If you look at my guy, he's in some hotel, balcony, high level, eating. Him and Post, two richest people in FSU Twitter. I don't even know how to compete with them. So, but again, got those two things out, heavy FSU related. I'm going to get more NFL related as we get to the season. This Sunday, check me out on First Coast News for my recurring role as NFL analyst and things like that. So trying to figure out where I want to go from there. Oh, I'm going to talk about this because I see my man T. Will Dog. Was it on YouTube? Anyways, he just made a comment, and Till Dog. Tallahassee's own T-Pain. And see, this is what you got to realize. You youngsters in the 850. Tallahassee made here, Jacksonville paid. You got to rep your city. T-Pain, Tallahassee's own, has reinvented himself so many ways. Still making music, still making club bangers, but what he's doing is he's making money on Twitch, talking about video games and whatever he wants to talk about. Somehow they got to talking about Tupac and what would Tupac be like in today's generation. He said two things that I hold to be true. Tupac would be dead a lot younger, and he'd be exposed as a lyricist. And I like Tupac music. The Gay Ballerina from Baltimore got some bangers. Very aggressive, very get after it. but his songs make no sense sometimes. I want to ask all the men here. Oh, let me take this out, man. Why I still got this? The echo is messing me up. All my men here. When's the last time you mixed Hennessy and Alizé? Have you ever had Thug Passion? You out here drinking fruity sweet drinks as a thug? As a goon? No, you're not. How many times can you ride Hennessy and Enemies? Like before it's just like, okay, it's redundant now. How many times have you guys ever looked at Tupac's hit? Tupac doesn't have any kids. How many times does he reference his kids in music? But he doesn't have any. It's just things that don't make sense. You can like them, we love it. It just doesn't make sense. It's like he's not like Drake, but it's just like Drake. You like Drake because the machine makes you like Drake. Pac had that energy. He was conscious at times. He was a goon at times. But he tried to embody what Suge Knight was, and he wasn't. He wasn't no. Think about it like this. Pac pledged gangsta grad chapter. Now, if you don't know what that means, there's a lot of there's alphas, AKAs, and all these other different things, man. Those are Black Greek fraternities and sororities. You can pledge after you graduate, and there's a lot of things that they can do. It's networking. It's like to advance your career. Thugs don't live that long. Why would you become a millionaire and then become a thug? Makes absolutely no sense, man. No sense. I wouldn't recommend it. But that's kind of what Pac did. Pac came in and pledged Blood grad chapter or Goon grad chapter. And that's effectively why he got killed. Fighting up a gangbanger in Las Vegas on that night. You're not about that life, but you fought somebody who was. You made music for the streets, though. The man went to Baltimore School of Arts, one of the most prestigious art schools in the country. It's where he met Jada Pinkett. You actually had one of the greatest things. You got a married woman still craving you years after your death. Like that's just one of that is a victory that Pac had. Pac was a great actor. To quote Marlon Wayans, possibly one of the world's greatest method actors. Something that, Miles, I don't know if you got it on your phone, if you emailed it to yourself, because I want to I wanted to talk about this on Monday, but we kind of got carried away with some things. But my son is playing tackle football this year. He's going to play on 10U team. University Christian Knights. Shout out to Coach Al. They're actually doing the first week of padded practice this week. My son's at Camp Anawana. If salute your shorts if you remember that. But like he's at a week-long camp doing white people shit, which is cool. I like that stuff. One of my biggest fears of putting my son in tackle football, and I had a good friend, Corey Simon, who kind of helped me like get through that, is one, me not coaching him, but two, who is coaching and influencing my son. And I'm everything that you see on social media, but my son is different. I want my son to be confident. I want him to be bold in his own way. And I don't curse out kids. And I know when it's a game, right? He's in 10U, he's 9. We're not winning the Super Bowl this year. We want to win everything, but like there's got to be some real reasons, man. So I see a lot of Pop Warner schools or Pop Warner programs that just really do it over the top, man. Like these guys are just like, they're cussing kids out, calling them pussies, saying this and saying that. And these people are posting this stuff like it's supposed to be cool or something. And I don't even really want to promote the video per se because I don't want to give it the clout. But I've seen a lot of this stuff. Yeah, that's the one. I've seen a lot of this stuff where it's a bunch of guys who haven't done anything in life besides be an accomplished Pop Warner coach, and that's their drinking stories. And I don't want my son to play for those kind of things or play against those kind of guys. High school, all right, go out there, run through somebody's shit, fuck them up, do all that kind of stuff. All right, it's starting to become real. But 8U? Come on, bro. Like at a certain point, you shouldn't be raising this. And I'm gonna tell you the truth. If you was a grown ass man, come to my son in the handshaking line, and you're saying that or you're a coach and you're not stopping your kids from having this kind of interaction with other kids, like you're not being the adult. I guess they might have deleted it. Yeah. They might have deleted it. All right, so no problem. If you're going around and you're encouraging your kids to talk about how they're gonna put people in hospitals and not play the game, I'm gonna fuck you up. Or I'm gonna show my son how to play the game the right way. And every time he lays your kid out, I'm gonna make sure he tells your kid, this is why we don't talk shit. Because it's unfortunate. It promotes a bad image for the sport. It makes people fear the sport that already shouldn't fear the sport because of various bullshit reasons, like like concussions and stuff like that. Yeah, concussions exist. Don't get me wrong. It's just like it's not what you think though. So, but again, my son's gonna play, and it's just I see a lot of stuff every week that really just again I want to commend these coaches, and hopefully they live up to all the things that I truly believe that they'll live up to. Like talking me through and being like, "Hey, man, that's not how we coach our guys." That and I've seen and to be honest with you, all the guys who have achieved something in sport all condemned it. Not one person who's played at a high level, and I've seen on my timeline, has come up and say that's the way you should play the game. Not even guys who I think are really, really good Pop Warner coaches or have established and have done the things that I kind of just joked about. Even most of them were saying that, nah, this is it. This ain't it. Excuse me. You got to watch you got to watch the energy, man. Like, because the problem is these same folks will get up and say that this is the problem with our generation shooting each other, fighting each other. When you promoting this dumb bullshit off of it.
Wow. Yeah.
Which that should have been my hate o'clock. It wasn't. But
these kids are like Trey's age.
No, they are. That's what threw me off. Here's what my hate o'clock will be. And it's going to be hate o'clock brought to you by Green Acre Sport Goods. Green Acre Sport Goods, the go-to outdoor source for everything. Like shoot guns, bow and arrows, crossbows, fishing. Get you a good safe, man. It's the time of year, man. Go get be a responsible gun owner. We need more responsible gun owners out here because a lot of y'all really, I don't know what y'all think gun ownership is or what you really think 2A is, but y'all gonna get yourselves killed, man. I'm just being honest with you. Like I just saw a wild video of a property owner going out and pulling an AR-15 because he alleges that somebody blocked his driveway. Like, damn, dog, that's where you went there immediately? Like you don't need to own a gun. You think the gun is an extension of your hands because you're a fucking coward. I believe in gun safety, proper gun ownership, all those different things. It's fun. One of my favorite things that I've been able to do with those guys at Green Acres with Z is to be able to go out there and learn how to shoot properly. Like, people might pick on my stance and pick on the way that I hold it, but that bitch shoot accurate as fuck. And I'm not shooting a gun out of trying to have a measuring contest. And that was one of the dopest things that Z told me. And what I always tell people is the guy you see next to me, his family has owned, was it 50 years, Miles? Or was it 30? Can't be 30. It's got to be longer than that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with 50. They've been selling guns for a long fucking time, period. If I was doing something bad, I promise you he would be like, yo, you about to get us all killed, James. which I was really, when I shot that Glock, that was why it took me so long to shoot it, because I was like, I don't want to get us all killed. I just remember the story he told me when the guy shot it and that bitch sprayed all the way up. So anyway, Z and them won't let you get a gun that you can't cop. They won't let you walk out that bitch without something that they can see you load up, cop, do those things. And the concealed carry course is one of the best you can get. That man makes you question if you even want to have a gun, but he's teaching you the best way. But here is what my hate o'clock is, and it's unfortunate, but I also understand why. And there's a couple things in my 8 o'clock. They're both NIL related. I'm going with the first one because I always like to end a little bit lighter than being heavy. But Anthony Richardson is a dope young man. Very, very good young man. Starting quarterback at the University of Florida. Happens to wear number 15. His initials are AR. When you add AR and the 15, that happens to be an assault rifle, automatic rifle, whatever you want to call it. And because people who legally obtain this weapon, because of rules that needed to be changed, he feels the need to be able to have to change his name. Richardson no longer wishes to be sharing a nickname with the type of semi-automatic rifle that has been used in several mass shootings across the country in recent years, according to Mike Bianchi. Richardson NIL marketing representative Delrick Jackson spoke with Bianchi on Friday about the potential shifts. We are in discussions right now about what to do. Anthony does not want his name to be associated with gun violence in any way. That's not a new position from Richardson either. Bianchi mentions Richardson was the public face of a GPD gun buyback program in the fall. And just changing the nickname isn't as simple as it sounds, though. It's one of the more recognizable brands on the team and maybe across the SEC right now. It's also on his clothing apparel, complete with a scope, sight, logo on each shoulder. All of that could change, according to Jackson. Love the intent. Would love to talk to Anthony about it so that he can actually be able to speak in his own voice in a way that's because he's a very intelligent young man. Go check out our Sports Den interview with Anthony on the Den Media Group YouTube page. I think at a certain point we got to look at things with not him. I know why he's doing it, but people who don't know him have to use common sense when it comes to this. So, like, everything relative to a quarterback has a lot of explosive and munitions, like adjectives or not adjectives, synonyms, or like descriptors. He has a cannon. Gunslinger. Guy has a rifle. Those are things that kind of just make sense and they go with it. And it's unfortunate that, the young man feels like he has to change it. And I remember, I think it was like a basketball player made a reference to, like, being loaded and cocked or something like that, a gun reference. And the newscaster said, well, I don't think that's a proper thing to say in this day and age with the recent events that happened. Man, bullshit. We only say what you want to say about me and how you feel. The only people who really got to worry about this shit are kids like Anthony. He shouldn't have to worry about it. 2A is important. Responsible gun ownership is what should be purported, should be pushed forward. And honest to God's truth, the limitations of name, image, and likeness are what's really fucking up a great opportunity to have responsible gun ownership and responsible information put out about guns. With the name AR-15, to be able to partner him with a group like Green Acres. Because not them per se, but other gun owners, there's not a person who owns these who's truly, who has kids, who's truly against common sense fucking legislation. Bump that shit up to 21 years old. to own legally. Bump the taxes up. It's too cheap right now. I'm not even gonna lie to you. You can get one for $499. Not mad at some of that stuff. I will say it's a fun gun to shoot, but I've also seen what it does to like a jail object, and it's not a hunting rifle. So anybody who tries to give you that, that's bullshit because the meat ain't gonna be no good. The only reason you shoot that motherfucker is for destruction. Yeah, I'm not lying to you. It's dope. It's not even the best personal safety weapon you can have. Unless you see somebody from hundreds of yards away trying to come to you, and you know what you're not going to be able to claim if that happened? Self-defense. In a self-defense situation, if you got to unless you got that rifle already set, which means you were coming into an aggressive situation. If you got to do all of this shit and I got my 9, I'm going to fuck you up, period. And that's just the truth of the situation. Now, still going to NIL. Actually, we already talked about that one. Damn, I forgot. We did talk about the Addison thing with Pittsburgh. I gotta give us something like. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna put this on my hater clock. This is a personal hater clock. I talk about 2 women a lot in my life, my mother and my grandmother. But there's this thing called the circle of life that you must realize, and this is the beautiful thing about having done some stuff that you can make money from. Women talk about patriarchal societies. I'm going to tell you this is bullshit. I want a matriarchal society. You know why? Because when everything bad happens, everybody relies on me. Everybody comes to my house. Everybody lives in my fucking house. And it's cool, though. I told a kid that if you do this thing the right way, like your grandmother visits you, like you go visit your grandmother for 1 week in the summer, your grandmama will come visit you 1 week in the summer. And that shit sounds good until your grandmother has to visit you 1 week in the summer. And she's a little bit older now. And she's not the same grandmother that you remember. She ain't the cooking granny no more. She ain't making me no neck bones and llamas. My grandmother is a very proud woman, love her to death. But and I had to give her some encouragement, but I'm venting to y'all. I had to wipe my grandmama's ass today, man. That shit hurt. It was tough. But then I had to think about it, and I had to explain to her, all the years you wiped my ass, why the fuck would I even be able to? I didn't want to wipe her ass. That's why we pay people to do that shit around my house. But what I'm saying is I had to do that. And it's lets you know, and I joked in my head, thinking in my head, like, I know she hear me on the phone talking right now, business. And she over here interrupting grown folks' conversations. Things I wanted to say that were said to me as a kid, I can't go up and say that. I say that to remember this, is that a lot of you older people, you're not that far away from being put in the fucking home. And you're going to want these young people that you call spoiled, entitled, and all this other shit. You know what you're going to want them to do? You're going to want them to take care of you. And I'm going to tell you this. She knows, as well as my mother, as well as my grandmother-in-law, anybody else, the way they treat it is the way they're going to get treated back. So they're lucky because none of them did that bad of a job. But some of y'all love talking about the people that you raised. And here's the crazy part. Are you prepared to have the product that you raised take care of you when you can't take care of yourself? Remember that. The kids, because my generation, I just want y'all to think about this now. The ones that you felt that your rights were so strong enough for, right? That you couldn't even put in simple legislation to protect those kids. You guys are getting to the point where you can't wipe your ass yourself. Do you want that kid taking care of you? These kids, now right now, you Roe v. Wade people that y'all just had to do all that stuff. All you super Christians that always have something mean to say. Are you prepared for what's going to happen in your later years? Have you made kids that were unselfish enough to be able to do what I just did this morning? I'm not sure. But I know this. If my boys don't take care of me the way that I motherfucking, and my daughter don't take care of me the way I fucking take care of these old people, it's going to be hell to pay. And I'm going to remind them. My mom and grandma didn't have to do this. I saw my grandmama with Big Daddy, or my great-grandfather. I don't know, what Big Daddy did or what he didn't do. All I know is my grandmama took care of Big Daddy in Big Daddy's house. Now, Big Daddy had a nurse that he flirted with all the time. But Big Daddy was Big Daddy all the way up until he died. And my grandmama took care of Big Daddy. My mama helped take care of Big Daddy and Big Mama when she was younger. I refused to let my grandmother go in the home because my grandmother didn't let Big Daddy go in the home. My mama won't go in the home because she didn't let my grandmama go in the home. See, that's called raising. And that's what I really look at a lot of this stuff today. A lot of the problems that y'all having wasn't COVID related. The problem was that you don't raise your goddamn kids. And you're letting other people raise your kids. And what you got to ask yourself is, are you prepared to live in a world with kids that you didn't raise and that you only had opinions when it was something that you were terrified of? And you're fighting over bullshit, and they can see that. Because this is what your generation did for most of them. Now, I'm good. I can read at a high level. My JIT reads at a 6th grade level right now. I'm mad because he's not reading higher. We're going to work on that shit. I told y'all about 47% of all 3rd graders in Duval County read below grade level. More than half Americans between the ages of 16 and 74, 54%, are reading below a 6th grade level, according to the U.S. Department of Education, excuse me, because right there, that fucked that up too. In a 2022 study. Y'all ready to have these dumbasses that y'all raise y'all? Because that's really what it comes down to. Is that your last few years, what you raised is raising you. Appreciate you guys for coming out and checking out with us. And go check out the sponsors. Check out all these different things. Please go support my guy CJ Wilson, 850. Go follow him. Very good, very smart brother. Doing some big things. We're gonna probably try to do some stuff with the HBCU network with 5th quarter when it comes down. Check out our Good Lives. We got a great tour of Florida A&M at HBCU Talk. Great tour with Kalen DeLoach. Check out the Anthony Richardson interview earlier. Hopefully we'll get another one with him with this one to change his name. And again, if you can't do anything, support those who support us. I love it.